Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. This is episode 253 in the year of our Lord. My name's Aaron. With me, as always, the other members of the Who Dat Jedi Council, Dave and Fredo. Hi, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
This is odd for us. We usually record in the evening. We're recording in the morning. So this is weird. It's weird. Dave's drinking like coffee. I've got Diet Coke. I mean, usually we're drinking beer or whiskey or something like that. I mean, no, whatever. It's New Orleans. I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but it's like,
We make do what the way we have to in order to survive through this season.
That's right. And Fredo, you're going through Gunnar Graw right now, so you're graciously recording in the midst of this celebration. Do you want to explain to everybody what Gunnar Graw is?
Yeah, because that term has taken on new terminology and new naming nomenclature with the youth, and it's a fight. I'm sure as we age, we're going to lose. So it is what it is. That's the nature of language. So I'm an Arsenal supporter. Arsenal Football Club's a soccer club in North London. So for the last 13 years now, we do kind of a meetup, an event where we basically do gather all people from across the nation. We've had people from the UK, from other parts of the globe turn up. Basically, do a whole weekend of parties and gatherings. So, like, it started Thursday, we met at Lafitte's. And from there, we went to Santos because they were doing 80s night and everybody was dancing and drinking. Next day, we have a big old party at Finn McCool's where we crown a king and queen. We do a big raffle. This year, we raised like $3,000 for a Jamaica relief fund, hurricane relief fund. I'm still fixing stuff from Hurricane Melissa, I want to say. And so helping them out. And then yesterday, we do a watch party for Crew de Vue, which is the weekend that we've selected to be doing it for the last 13 years. And so some nights we don't get a place. Most of the times we rent the place out. So we rented the balcony over at Blue Nile, which lucky for us turned out to be almost at the tail end of the parade last year. And lucky for us, given the weather we've had, was a gold mine because that meant you didn't have to be out in the elements. We could all be inside, and then you just come out and you meet your friends who are marching. And so many people miss so many others, and it's just. And then I think today we have a women's championship match, and so we'll be back. There's people already back at Fins, and some people are flying back. So we've had good times, bad times, silly times. It's an excuse to just get together with people and friends you met from across the world and have a good
So,
time.
so good news, New Orleanians. Good carnival news. It's free. It's been cold as I don't want Dave to have to edit. It's been cold the last couple days and about the last couple weeks. Next week, mid 60s. The week after that, like I saw my birthday that is supposed to be like 68. So that's right in the middle of
The weekend.
yeah. So keep your fingers crossed. It's going to get better. It should be hopefully. I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm going to stop talking now. I have a bit of news, everybody. As of this morning, I am once again. I've always been a great uncle, but now I'm once again. This is my third time as a great uncle. My niece had a baby boy, and Francis Joseph came in at 10 pounds 2 ounces.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's a monster. He's yeah.
Bless his mama.
And my brother and I have already had the conversation. I said, I'm sorry, but your grandson forever is going to be referred to by his uncle as Psycho because of stripes. And I sent him a text. I said, Brian, I hope that you are able to use this phrase at some point with your grandson, and that is lighten up, Francis. I mean, you just got to. You just got to.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So good, healthy baby boy. Waited until it wasn't freezing to come into the world. So, yeah.
The good news for Francis is that movie is as old as we are, and there'll be fewer people saying "lighten up, Francis" over the course of his life.
Not if parents are doing their job. Not if parents are doing their job, and there's certain lines that you have to teach kids, or get into podcasts with your friends and have you watch movies that you didn't watch when you should have been watching them growing up. So
See, we're doing our small part to keep that line alive
that's
just
right.
by talking about it on this podcast. And if
With
people
me,
don't know,
because I haven't seen all the movies, and so you're making me watch
yeah.
the movies. So
Kind of like that meme from Starship Troopers. I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part. You know, we're doing our part here.
but anyway, so that's
Stripes is very funny, for the record. Anybody that has
um,
not watched Stripes, it's very funny.
Stripes and Full Metal Jacket are kind of equivalent. Hold on, are kind of equivalent to me. The first half, great. Second half, what the heck is going on? It's like you could, if you could watch the first half of each movie, and then and just stop it right there, you would have had an enjoyable movie experience. The second half makes you kind of question some decisions. So I know that was Fredo looked at me like, if this was a video podcast, he was like, "What the heck are you, Full Metal Jacket and
No,
Where are we
Stripes?"
going?
But
Where are we
I
going?
actually agree. No, I actually agree with you because if you see, it's not that the quality drops, it's that it feels like they're two different stories
yes,
shoehorned together,
yeah,
and one doesn't connect with the other.
yeah, 100%.
And the first half is the more iconic for each one of them. Like Stripes, once they graduate out of basic and they go to Europe, doesn't really connect the same way.
Now, one of my favorite lines though is, anytime anybody mentions Wisconsin, I always say, "I got my ass kicked in Wisconsin." That's one of my favorite lines. You don't have to McClunky that one. That's fine. But yeah, so like I said, both the second half of the movies, you could just kind of maybe, well, anyway, I don't want to argue with Stanley Kubrick, but it just it
You know,
got totally like, yeah.
yeah, we know better than Stanley Kubrick, right? Yeah.
But
It does get weird. I mean, the first half of that movie is the setup. Like you are watching a completely different film, and he honestly could have just said it in basic training and just rolled with that, right? And made the whole movie about that, because the way that whole sequence ends is crazy.
yeah,
It's humorous at times, with the interplay with the drill sergeant and everything, and then you get to the end and you're like, oh
I mean, yeah,
wow.
both halves are dark, but the
Yeah,
second half is dark. And I
yeah,
mean, it's Vietnam. I get it. But,
yeah.
so anyway, you came here to listen about Star Wars, not all this, but yeah. So I like how we went from my grandnephew to, or whatever, my great nephew to, Full Metal Jacket
What's the
in the
well?
span of
What is the
30
song?
seconds.
But what is the song that finishes Full Metal Jacket? The Mickey Mouse Club theme song. So you see, it comes back together.
Well, okay.
Well, I was also going to say this is a Star Wars podcast, and George was making a story about the Vietnam War in his own way, right? So,
He was, but it's broader than that. I mean,
oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it is. I mean, it's. I mean, as all, it's all cyclical. So, I mean,
yep.
it could be so many. But by the way, sorry, I watched just because woke up early the other day, and I watched like the last couple episodes of Andor season 2. Um, Yeah, that's really applicable to what is going on right now. I don't want to dive too, but everybody, wow. I mean,
Like even more than it first aired. Yeah,
it's like Tony Gilroy kind of like went and looked in a, crystal ball or something. Now we don't have, yeah. So anyway, I don't want to bring us down, but it's just like, wow. I mean, and some of the lines, um, like parts of Nimic's manifesto that they play in that, Mon Mothma's speech, um, you know, uh, yeah, it's just hits hard. So yeah,
Crazy part is not that it connects with our current times. The crazy part, it feels like so many. I mean, and we go back through all the media that we consume from childhood to now. felt like warnings about the times that we're living in. And so many people not only miss that, but seem to actively be comfortable in leading us to that. It's like, wait a minute, you saw Star Wars and you saw Lord of the Rings and you saw Harry Potter and you saw all these properties, everything from sci-fi, fantasy, Star Trek. And instead of going, these are the warning signs and avoid them, we went, no, 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 that's exactly where we want to go. It's like, Blade Runner is not something we should strive
Yeah.
towards, but that's the sad part. Anyway,
All right. Well, on to happier stuff. Tonight, today, whatever the heck we're in right now. I'm like I said, I'm lost. But anyway, our subject is going to be our favorite non-John Williams movie scores. So, we just have been kicking that around just privately. It's just because we talk about John Williams all the time, but it's like, all right, what are ones that aren't written by the maestro? Which ones did we like to hit hardest for us? I think you guys will dig my criteria for most of mine. Um, so, but anyway, so that's what we're gonna do.
I'm intrigued.
No, don't
about your
get too
criteria.
intrigued. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny. I, first of all, I have to tell you that when I would teach music history and we would get to the Romantic era and start talking about opera and everything like that, I use Star Wars to teach operatic, techniques. Because that Star Wars, especially the first trilogy, the original trilogy, was fantastically put together. But and honestly, I don't know if I've come across another score that is as well put together from an operatic standpoint. But I could be proven wrong. But anyway, we got some. Let's do some trivia first. Let's get our brains wrapped around some of this stuff. All right, Dave, start us off. Who does Count Dooku, using Force Lightning, pick up and slam against a wall? Who does Count Dooku, using Force Lightning, pick up and slam against a wall?
I'm gonna go with Anakin because he charges at him and zaps him.
That is the correct answer. It is Anakin Skywalker. I just had a good idea. Sometime we need to have trivia where wrong answers only. Actually, after we do this round, we'll do one round of wrong answers only. I think that'll be kind of fun. All right, Fredo, to you.
okay.
Who happens to be tethered to Jango Fett when he boots the bounty hunter off a slippery ledge? Who happens to be tethered to Jango Fett when he boots the bounty hunter off a slippery ledge?
That'll be the one and only Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Did we both get questions from Attack of the
We
Clones?
He
did.
did.
Okay.
And to me, who strikes the first blow during the lightsaber duel in Cloud City? Who strikes the first blow during the lightsaber duel in Cloud City? I assume that doesn't mean clashing of lightsabers, but a body hit. And that's going to be, pardon my Diet Coke there, that was going to be Luke Skywalker gets the first blow. It is Luke Skywalker because it's Vader in the shoulder. And I remember being so confused because, like, how a lightsaber will slice through things, but it hits, I don't know.
He's got that armor, man.
So is that, what is it, whatever the stuff that the Stranger used?
Beskar.
No, not Beskar. Well, I guess Beskar does help with it, right? But what was the metal that the Stranger and the Acolyte?
Oh, what's the name of that?
Well, don't worry. It sounds like a word that I don't want to say on a podcast, I think, but I can't come up with the name. with the name.
like Star Wars jazz.
Well, close. When Fredo finds it, you might. He's searching. So, all right. Well, let's do wrong answers only here, real quick, while he's searching for that. Dave, who tells Qui-Gon Jinn, "You Jedi are far too reckless"? Wrong answers only. Who tells Qui-Gon Jinn, you Jedi are far too reckless"?
I'm trying to think of a funny response. I'm just thinking of like a mom character, so I'm like Mon Mothma.
I was going to say Darth Maul.
Yeah.
But all right, Fredo, did you find the material?
Yes, it is cortosis.
Yeah. See, there's a dirty word that I was, well, not really dirty, but it was not appropriate for um, podcasting. Fredo, all right, wrong answer only. Who jumps
Mm-hmm.
several feet in the air and beheads two clone troopers as they are preparing to kill him? Who jumps several feet in the air and beheads two clone troopers as they are preparing to kill him?
That would be the one and only Kit Fisto.
See, I would have said Jar Jar Binks.
But that's only if you believe in Darth Jar Jar theory.
All right, and to me, who assures Darth Vader that the Rebel shield on Hoth will be down in moments? Who assures Darth Vader that the Rebel shield on Hoth will be down in moments? There's nothing really funny here. Um, I don't know. Do you guys have one? Fredo looks like he wants to say something.
I was just gonna say Watto.
I was going to say the guy from Airplane that, unplugs the tarmac, but
Oh,
anyway.
you mean Johnny? Johnny?
Yeah.
Johnny, get me up to date on everything that's happened. Well, first the Earth cooled, and then the dinosaurs came, but they got too big and fat. Then they all died and turned to oil. And then guys from the Middle East came out. They all bought Mercedes Benzes. Yes, Airplane is my favorite movie.
Oh, I love
That was from
Airplane.
Airplane too.
Oh, oh, Airplane, yes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. We got news.
All right, let's do a bit of news, and let's start with the newest. So it's been reported by the Wall Street Journal that Bob Iger, current CEO of Disney, and all things Disney, and the guy most likely to have turned down Don for Ben Solo, will step down as CEO before the end of his contract this year. So he is contracted through the end of 2026. His goal is to step down before that. He has apparently informed associates of that. And the goal for him apparently seems to be that he wants to move on from the grind of being a CEO, but he still wants to be around to help transition whoever the Disney board of executives votes as new CEO to assist them into the transition of that role. Whether and when that transition will happen, how fast. Uh, there's two leading candidates. One's the chairman of the Disney Experiences, the other one's the co-chairman of Disney Entertainment. So, take your pick. It's gonna get interesting
So
there.
if I was the Disney board, okay, first of all, here's a couple things that I'm going to talk about on this one. Number one,
Mhm.
coming out of retirement is not always a good thing, kids. Bob Iger should have stayed retired because he's only blemished his career in the last about 3 years or so. The other thing, if I was the Disney board, I've seen this story before. That's what he did with Bob Chapek. I mean, it was like, I'm going to stick around and help him get acquainted. And he did. And he left. And then Bob Chapek screwed everything up. And now, then they brought Bob Iger back. And so it's like, I would say, okay, thanks, Bob. Just, if we need you, we'll call you, you know, and because I name that the one you didn't give the name of Josh Tomorrow. He would probably, the guy who's
Yeah,
done the parks and
that's
everything, Disney
that's who. Yeah,
experience.
that's who the betting favorites have
Yeah.
as more likely, the most likely to be the replacement for
And I
CEO.
think I'm sorry. I think that I think they should do what they did in the '80s that I mentioned last episode, and what Lucasfilm is doing, and they should find a pair that would, you know, be both, one on the creative side, one on the financial side, the business side. I think that worked well for them. Um, but yeah, like I said, coming out of retirement doesn't always work, kids. So anyway, but we'll see.
I think if you're a fan of any project that has failed to get a green light, like the Ben Solo project, right? Like maybe this gives you a glimmer of hope that it will happen, but less so because he's like training his successor or whatever, and who knows what those conversations look like. So I don't know. I guess it cracks the door open a little further, but not. It doesn't blow the door completely open.
So to make a comparison across jobs, and to your point, Aaron, about knowing when to stay away, all I keep thinking about Bob Iger's second run is like people like Pete Carroll going from Seattle to Las Vegas, or Bill Belichick going to North Carolina. Football coaches who were great at one stop and then they went elsewhere and it
The
didn't
only
quite
one,
transition.
the
Hmm?
Dave will like this. The only one where that's ever really worked was the coach at K State.
Hmm.
Mm,
Can you believe I said that, Dave? As I'm wearing a Husker sweatshirt.
mhm.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I mean, that was the only one that's really stands out as like being a good second act.
There are a few, but yeah, it's not. I think it's like less likely than likely, right? Like when you do that, it's usually, and even with Bill Snyder, when you look at what he did as his first go around, it exceeded in terms of winning percentage what he did the second time. So there was a drop off, um, even with him, and even when you can point to it and say, well, that worked out pretty well. Um, but there was still a little bit of a decline. So, um, yeah, it just don't run it back.
Well,
Don't run it back. You can't recreate the magic.
Part is particularly when you're coming back with your mindset from the past at work into a new dynamic where, the world shifted between Bob Iger's first run and second run. He was talking about parks and movie theaters and a movie window that stretched across months. Now, literally, you have at home streaming stuff that was on theaters 2 months ago. So it's a whole different world, and you can't apply the same mindset. Anyway, so he is going to look to step down. We'll see how that impacts all the stuff for Star Wars, which leads me to my next bit. So this is from a week ago or so. Somebody went up to Taika Waititi, who is um, apparently doing promotion. After he was at Sundance promoting his new family adventure called Thing, with an exclamation point, which is based on a children's book. And given Kathleen Kennedy's departure and her discussion of projects, somebody went up to ask him about, hey, how's your Star Wars project coming? Remember this thing that got announced almost 6 years ago. So he says, here's his quotes. Quote, it was all on the page. So it's pretty easy for me to tap into that. They asked him about what his role was about Star Wars. Says that for him, the greatest villain was Darth Vader because it taps into a child's biggest nightmare or fear. So kind of like that. And when they start asking him about his Star Wars movie, he says this it's still in development. It'll harness a little more of the fun of the original films. So for him, he's leaning into that original trilogy kind of humor, dynamic, etc. But he says the stakes are very high and there are serious things going on. There's also a lot of fun to be had. Biggest thing though he says is it's got to be more of its own thing, which I think in a weird way, particularly when we hear about eventually maybe turning Starfighter into maybe multiple series of movies, whatever. I think what's been attracting creators at this point is they don't necessarily want to be tied down to the whole saga element. They want to be able to just come in, do a movie, make it whatever that's going to be, and then see where it goes. But of course, Disney being Disney, they're like, well, can we spin this off? Can we sequel this? So anyway, he's still saying it's still alive. It's still in the process. He turned a good script, and obviously he's onto things while they make up their mind.
I'm just gonna be good. No, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna say one thing. It bothers me. Star Wars is not a comedy. Yes, there is humor in it. There are little jokes here and there, but Star Wars is not a comedy. So when I hear him say, going back to the whatever that
Humor.
the humor,
Yeah.
that there aren't jokes written into. And again, I tried to actually watching Thor Ragnarok again, guys, and I just still get just as mad. I mean, and so that's the only thing that worries. Again, I've said it before, so I'll just shut up now. So. But Star Wars is not a comedy. Yes, there are, like I said, there are some lighter points to it. There are some barbs here and there, but nobody's making jokes. So,
Have you watched any of the other Taika movies? I think we talked about that a little bit. What We Do in the Shadows and
No, I haven't.
Jojo Rabbit. Yeah. Um, I think you'd be surprised that it's not Thor wackiness, right? It's a little different. Um,
Well, maybe I'll give
it
that
may
a
not
go.
be.
I'll take you. Yeah, but yeah. So
Yeah, not again. That's not to say that I am 100% a fan of this. I think we've talked about it before. Like, would it be a good fit? Who knows? I think he's what makes this interesting to me is it he's sort of talking about when it's going to happen rather than
Mhm.
if you read between the lines a little bit. So um, he seems to think that this is going to move forward, at least from what he's saying publicly. So um, maybe that's a slight shifting of what we previously understood. Like I think all of us had serious doubts of this ever happening. So it's like maybe it's a little likelier now.
Makes me wonder if it ties back to that first story that we did, that maybe a lot of this stuff kind of got put on pause as
Hmm.
we went through the pandemic and Bob Iger came back in, trying to sort out, well, we spent all these billions of dollars for Star Wars to make Star Wars movies, not Disney Plus content. We know that that's what Bob Iger came in saying. So maybe there's a kind of like a reshuffling of things and pausing things, and okay, let's
See,
finish out what we got and then kind of reassess holistically how we want to do Star Wars, which to me doesn't seem like a bad thing, but also at the same time, they almost trapped themselves because they had announced so many projects, try to turn Star Wars into a Marvel machine
but
where they're just churning product. But you can't really do that because people, I mean, we saw with Last Jedi and Solo back to back, people burn out.
but again, I take issue with his
Mm,
that quote because
mm,
I think all of the Star Wars movies are that have come since A New Hope have been tonally similar. I mean, it's there have been just as much. They've always been action movies with, like I said, kind of lighthearted. There are quips between Obi-Wan and Anakin in Attack of the Clones. There's quips in Revenge of the Sith, which is argument. The the darkest of the Star Wars movies. It's like each one of those movies I think were of the same tone. So I don't know where Solo, same thing. Rogue One might be the only one that didn't have,
there's humor in there though.
but you know what I
when
mean.
you
It's
put the
like
hood over
so
Chirrut's face, and
so
he's
if
like,
he
"Why are you
was
doing this? I'm blind."
if he was to, yeah, that's true. If he was to say that, I'm getting tired of reporters not asking the obvious follow-up question, which is, okay, you say this, so what do you think's been missing? That's the obvious follow-up question, is like, where do you think that it's missing from the first trilogy to now? um yeah, so anyway, sorry.
Humor's so subjective too, though. Like it's like for a lot of people, they really disliked Phantom Menace because some of the jokes were aimed at maybe a younger audience. Stepping in poop,
Well,
fart
i'm
jokes.
i'm there.
Yeah, and it was different, right? There's a shift there. The style of joke, the kind of joke, it was a little different. Um, I don't know, man. I mean, like when I step away from it and I look at these movies, each one individually to me has a slightly different tone, but again, it's not a drastic change from movie to movie. Um, A New Hope was really that old serial swashbuckling Buck Rogers style of thing, and none of the rest of the movies have really been that. Solo might be the closest in some respects, and I think that's part of the reason I like Solo as much as I do. But
I think, and maybe this is just a discussion for a later time. Do you think that's more to do with the character of Han Solo than it does necessarily the movie itself? Because I always think back to my
mm,
brother Abe, who always said that when he used to watch the Harry Potter movies, like, well, where's the Han Solo character here? Where's the person who's not plugged into this world, who's just along for the ride and going from the back of the pack, going like, this is nuts, this is crazy, I can't believe we're doing this kind of a thing. Because having that character does allow you to bring that sense of humor without it being a comedy. And I still think even to the point of when he's running after the stormtroopers, chasing them off, and then he turns around and they're all standing there. Why are we running away from the one guy
We
and start firing at him?
we
So,
busted a gut every time with that. Yeah, that was
mhm.
so.
But
Love
I don't know
that.
that you could do that with Luke. I think Han can get away with that moment.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
anyway, like I said, I just take issue with his premise. So I
last
won't
bit of
argue with
news.
Stanley Kubrick, but I'll argue with Taika Waititi on that one. So anyway,
I will say, do watch What We Do in the Shadows, particularly the TV show. It's ended. Mark Hamill's in there. It is hilarious stuff. It's just so funny. Anyway,
Go
I'll move
watch the
on.
movie, and because it's just it's a short film, you can evaluate that and decide, oh, I like this or I don't. And you can watch more if you want to watch the TV show. But like the movie, it's a mockumentary basically. Um, this is Spinal Tap style, where we're documenting vampires.
all right,
It's good.
all right.
It's very good.
Last bit of news, and this will bring us into our main topic. So, a few weeks back, the Boston Symphony Orchestra is in their current season, and they had a show dedicated to the music of John Williams. And who turns up but John Williams, 94 years old, in a wheelchair, but obviously used to be the Boston Pops conductor. And, so starting back in January 22nd, they did the whole series of shows based on his music. And I mean, I think you can still go online onto the website and still may be able to catch the show. But it was just a celebration of his music, which I think at this point, he's written, composed, and created so much stuff just for movies, but then his own stuff that he's done for symphony, for orchestras, for concertos. It's amazing. So this was just a moment to just celebrate him.
Yeah, but I know we're on borrowed time, but that one's gonna hurt. Um, so, but
I always say he composed the music to my childhood.
yeah,
The
100%.
goat.
Yeah. Well, all right. Shall we dive into push John Williams aside? Um, uh,
True.
let's talk about stuff that John Williams didn't compose. And I'm glad that we listed this as our favorites, not the best, because
Mm.
that's that's
Even more
uh,
subjective, even more
yeah,
subjective than
that's
Do you have thoughts on best before we dive into this?
I
Who's the
don't
best in the business?
I don't right now because
Mm,
honestly, I mean, I don't know. I can get really nerdy about it.
right.
It's there was something though about for just with the Star Wars scores that grabbed you, and like if you change the music, it would ruin the movie. It's another character in the movie, and just like I said, the way they did it, and I just so many times movies, um, and obviously there are exceptions, but a lot of movies it's just like we need suspenseful music here, we need action music here, we need it's like kind of like I don't know, I don't want to it's forgettable, you know. Um,
serving multiple masters, trying to serve multiple masters at once, and one of them will eventually fall to the wayside. Like you're composing, but you're composing with a mission.
well, I
It's not
think that
just
the director has to be writing with music in mind. Steven Spielberg does that,
Ryan
George
Coogler
Lucas did
does that.
that.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler does that. So yeah, but so I don't have a thought on best right now. I don't.
Yeah.
Um, even though the movie I was in is up for an Oscar, so I mean, I, I you know I think what Ludwig did with Sinners was
All right.
really really
Yeah,
good.
Charlie Horse.
What's that? Did we all just drop or something?
I
Fredo's
don't know. Did Fredo fall into an alternate dimension or
he
something?
must have. I don't know what he was saying.
No, sorry. All of a sudden, I got a Charlie Horse on my leg.
Oh,
I kicked the cord out of my
yeah, that'll do it. That'll
laptop.
stop you.
Well, at least
Like right.
I'm glad
That's why
you.
I was making the face that you couldn't see.
I'm
Thank
glad
God this is
I'm
an
glad
audio.
your audio died, so we didn't hear you swearing, and Dave didn't have to,
McClunky,
McClunky it
heck out
out.
of me, yeah. Yeah.
It happens when you get old, kids. But anyway,
It also
now,
happens we haven't been hydrating properly.
like I said, I think Ludwig is doing some good things in the movies that he's. I mean, he's obviously been winning for. So
He's definitely a candidate for heir apparent, right? Like that's sort of where I was.
but again, you have a
Fumbling
director.
around.
You have a director and writer who is writing with music in mind,
Yes, indeed.
and not just hiring somebody to just we just need some music here. So anyway,
And yeah, I'm sure he has certain allowances too that like sort of free him up to do more, right? Like I want to go to Africa and talk to people on the ground and interview people and actually listen to some. Okay, sure, yeah. Here's your ticket. Um, and whereas certain other directors, producers, studios might just say, no, that costs a lot of money.
yeah.
Make do. Um, so I think that relationship has been really cool to see unfold, and we've all benefited from it.
So you guys were. I said that my criteria you'd find intriguing. Britt was asking, "What are you guys talking about today?" And I said, "Well, favorite movie scores that aren't John Williams." And I started listing off some of them, and I said, basically, if they would make a good marching band show, then it hit my list because I was like I said, I was a high school band director for several years, and and so I'm going to start off. And
All right.
this one, I've got a couple on here that I was like they came out when I was either mid high school, really, really, or another one that came out when I was in college. And I remember that one. I said this would make a killer marching band show, and the director said, "I'm already on it." So anyway, I'll tell you about that one second. But my first one I'm going to say is 1989's Batman. I thought that was a great. I mean, I love the main title theme. The Prince stuff is just incredible. That it's a movie that you walk away from, remembering the music. So, so like I said, that was pretty iconic for me. So
It's one of those. I mean, it kind of did a revival in movie scores and soundtracks when it came out because people were just so enraptured by it, and it influenced the animated series' own music. It's that like epic.
I have 5 different composers listed here, and
Me too.
and a couple of them are sort of locked in. The score is locked in, right? But Danny Elfman was one that I had, and I wasn't quite sure which one to list. So I'm glad that you went Danny Elfman here,
yeah.
because that score's just great. It's so great.
And like I said, it's also the Prince stuff that is laced throughout it. That was worked so well. But yeah, that was my.
There were
first
2
one.
different album releases for that movie. There was the orchestral compositions, and Prince released an entire album, and that was good stuff.
Which famously Shaun of the Dead made fun of by going at zombies.
Yeah. They threw the record at the zombies. Yes, it was, which oh, that movie that soundtrack really deserved that. Come on now, it is Prince after all, but fine. All right, I feel like this is likely to steal one. There might be some crossover on this one, but maybe not. I'm going The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by Ennio Morricone, who's just like one of the all-time greats. And I think like the everybody knows the main theme. It's like iconic, right? It's almost like Jaws. Like da 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 da. Everybody knows that, right?
If you haven't seen the
But
movie yet.
it's really the rest. It's really the rest of that score that just is like perfection to me. Where, I mean, they grab you at the very beginning with that iconic theme, but then like I'll be honest, spaghetti westerns to me are a little dry. They're meant to sort of like capture these wide panoramic shots, and you're taking in these vistas, and then you get these huge, like almost like comical close-ups on people's faces, um, and so like the visuals are doing a lot of work, but there's not a lot of like dialogue or even action that really sort of like keeps moving you forward. So they feel a little dry to me at times, but like that's why I feel like the music is like just that much more important. Um, and I'll say this, like the freaking the agony and the ecstasy, which is that song that if anybody's heard a Modelo beer ad over the last
Oh,
20 years,
the Ecstasy of Gold. Yes.
ecstasy of gold, yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's the one that Metallica uses to open all their shows with as well. Tells you how iconic it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that tune is just like chef's kiss, perfect. But yeah, that music does a lot of heavy lifting, in my opinion, in those movies, and that one's my favorite. So
Yeah, it's one of those like, and I'm gonna mention mine in a moment, but particularly that climactic, no, standoff between the three. It is nothing but dudes staring at one another and that music playing. And sometimes we forget, I mean, movies are a visual medium and you don't need dialogue. And when the whole story can just be told with the screen, the actors, and the music, it can be even more epic. And that's what like my first score that I thought of was Conan the Barbarian by Basil Polydoris. That composer Basil Polydoris went on to work with the director of like RoboCop, Total Recall, Starship Troopers, but this one he worked with John Milius. And if you watch that movie, this is the 1982 Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Arnold has at most 40 lines in that movie. It is, there are whole stretches of that movie where there's nothing but just the visual image and
Yeah.
the music. And the music tells the story, whether it's just the opening, with the riddle of steel and just clanking, putting in all these heavy instruments, making the sound of like forging a sword, whether it's the moments like the Riders of Doom when here comes James Earl Jones on horseback to kill these people, and massacre an entire village. Again, all that plays with nothing but orchestral and choir, and it feels epic. And sometimes that's what I love movies where you can just take out the dialogue and it still functions like that, where you can tell the whole
Mhm.
story. That needing words to get in the way. So that's all I went with that one first.
that Star Wars has that in common in a lot of ways with
Big time.
John Williams movies. Like if they we talked about writing for the composer a little bit, and
Mhm.
um, yeah, if you make it into a silent movie, you take all the dialogue out, is it still going to work?
Mhm.
Based on the musical cues, and that Conan is definitely one of those.
Mhm.
My next one, kind of going in chronological order here, is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Kamen. He became kind of a hot commodity after this movie in movie score. And what he did, you had the Bryan Adams song, obviously, but and that was kind of a thing, in the '90s. You had the hit song that could be on the radio, and you had to weave that in the score somehow. And he did it well. He did it really well in this. But the main title theme to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was the one that I said to my college band director, this would make an incredible show, and he's like, I'm already on it. He said he agreed. It's just such a good, it's such he was such a good movie composer. So yeah, that's my next one. So
Yeah, I always think of Michael Kamen for two things. One, all the scores he wrote, like in the late 80s, because he's the guy who did the music for Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and Roadhouse. Yeah, Roadhouse has a score, kids. And then he also in the 90s teamed up with Metallica to write a symphonic score to go with Metallica's music, which is
yeah, I've got that
the
album.
weirdest
Yeah,
amalgamation, but it
it's
works
incredible.
because he knew how to put it together. So yeah, awesome. Dave?
That score sort of exceeds the movie that it was attached to, right?
Yeah,
Like
Mm.
I mean, a lot of people really still love that movie, but like when you hear that score, like they've used it for like everything. Like Oscar presentations, like when they do the montage of movie clips and things like that, they use that one.
it's
Um,
yeah.
it's
You're
yeah,
right. It's not aligned well with yeah. The movie is okay. It's fun.
movie's good.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of people like aspects of it. Alan Rickman,
I mean, I
etc.
like
But
I like the movie,
yeah,
but yeah, it's not.
All of Christmas.
So
it's just such a great, yeah, it's a great score. Uh, all right, I just watched this, and it just like it stuck with me, and I love it so much. The Lord of the Rings, by Howard Shore.
Are you
The diff
separating them by movie or are you
Oh
putting it all
man,
together?
I mean, I don't know.
so it's
Take your pick. Take your
it's
pick. Maybe the second movie, right? Because like Two Towers, because you've got so many of the different kingdoms that they each have their own theme. Um, and my wife, she shouted Rohan from the cheap seats because that's her favorite. And Rohan's wonderful, right? But like each area kind of has its own song, and like the main theme is sort of iconic. The Hobbit theme is iconic. Um, it's just remarkable to me that it works as well as it does, and it's held up over the years because there's so many examples of movies where it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, eh,
so
eh.
it's interesting you bring this up because I was I I set myself up for being disappointed by the Lord of the Rings movie score because in college we played. And I'll have to get you the recording of this. I've got it on CD. Um, it's a symphony written by Johann de Meij that is the Lord of the Rings symphony,
Hmm.
and it starts off with Gandalf. There's Lothlorien. There is Gollum. There's the Hobbit. And there's one other. I can't remember what it is, but anyway, it's so very programmatic, so very programmatic, so very. I mean, it's an operatic. When they announced the that Lord of the Rings was going to be coming, to the theater, all of my band nerds, I went to college with, we were all, saying, "Oh, thank God, they should just use it." It's like Johann de Meij wrote this for. It's so good, and and then another thing that kind of ruined for me is that I had to go to eighth grade band and listen to junior high band play the the arrangement of Lord of the Rings. So,
Mm.
but so anyway, like I said, I think I need to give that a fresh listen because I think it was just like because I held this symphony in such high regard.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, the theme of this podcast is, check your expectations at the door. And I didn't on that one. Um, but it's definitely powerful. You know, so sorry, I stepped in there real quick, but I
Yeah.
do want to share, do want to play that for you sometime. Or give you the CD so you can listen to it. It's my favorite. Um,
Good
Yeah,
deal.
it was gonna be. It's one of the ones that was on my honorable mention, just because again, I could. If you tell me separate the three, I probably would have gone with Return of the King because we just heard it in theaters a couple of weekends ago. So, but there's no wrong choice there. For my next one, actually, this is kind of the one that kind of triggered me, and it actually got triggered from odd football playing its main, not its main thing, but one of its biggest moments, which is How to Train Your Dragon by John Powell.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the opening where you get introduced to Burke, which is light and fun and sometimes silly, but the moment that everybody connects with is what they call test drive, which is when what's his name, Pickup goes riding for the first time and has to figure out how to fly a dragon. And the music just soars, and they find ways in the score to be both scary as well as silly, because of course this is ultimately a kids movie, but they connected it really well. And it's kind of like one of those scores that whenever I hear about it, I go like, wow, it's fun a life beyond its own movie, to the point that where you go to Universal's Epic Universe, you'll hear it and you go, what it is, but then you hear it in other places and you go, yep, this is awesome. So uh, again, it's one of those where it's like probably not the most complex, but emotionally it ties to the story really well.
Yeah, it soars. Yeah, that's the perfect. I mean, and that's what's happening in the movie. They're soaring, and it's perfect.
Mm.
well, my next one, I am moving chronologically here. This is kind of interesting. My next one, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. It just fit so well and did not sound Disney. I mean, Disney writes good music, but it sounded more piratey than Disney, and it just worked. Similar to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I mean, it kind of fit the idiom, I suppose. Yeah, and it's just it was a fun score to a fun movie. Really well done.
It's one of those where you see how it expands from the first one across the series, but it always goes back to those leitmotifs, those elements of the original, because they just fit so well.
Yeah.
When what I guess I don't remember. Isn't this the one where Hans Zimmer wrote it, but he didn't get credited for it? And then, like after the fact, he wrote the next two movies.
Mhm.
Like he sort of ghost wrote it
Mm.
because he had some sort of like contractual thing going on and he couldn't do it.
Mm.
But um oh yeah, and the way that Hans has layered those themes in each subsequent movie as well is really cool because he added a lot of really fun stuff, piratey sounding stuff, um, onto that original score. But the original score is just, yeah, chef's kiss. Um, Perfect match between what you're seeing on screen and what you're hearing. So I'll stick with Hans Zimmer. Because I wanted to make sure that he was represented on my list as well. And I think I would go with probably The Dark Knight here.
Mm.
And I like where his career has gone, where he's sort of like this. He was more of the traditional scoring that you would hear like Pirates. But he's gotten like, when he started collaborating with Christopher Nolan, he started becoming like more experimental and doing things with like strings that like they're not melodic. It's just like a sound, like things like that. It's like it's hard to, I guess I'd say where I was going with that is like it's kind of hard to sort of like pull that off well. I feel like that's like a thing that you hear like maybe all the time on television, where it's just um have you guys seen that movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Jason Segel plays this character who's like a TV scorer, and he's like, all I do anymore is just play tones. It's like duh, 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 and it's like a lot of that, you hear a lot of that on TV. And so like I was thinking, how do you sort of describe what's going on in The Dark Knight, for example, with the Joker, and really convey like how effective it truly is without just saying, oh, it's just tones. um it's the tension in it, I guess that's part of it. Like he's able to sort of capture this idea of every time Heath Ledger is on screen, you're on the edge of your seat.
Well, I mean, when I was in college, it was you'd get asked sometimes to play on the composition majors recitals and stuff like that, or actually play the stuff that they wrote, and it ended up being weird as all crap. I mean, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It was just like it was weird. I mean, it's like 20th century music and contemporary composers weren't focused much on melodies, at least when I was in college. I mean, it was more expressionistic. It was a little bit more, you know, I guess more atmospheric, and like you said, yeah, you didn't get a whistling melody, but it would definitely evoke an emotion, definitely evoke, a feeling. So yeah.
I think part of the reason that I elevate this one too above some of the other Chris Nolan movies is that there is a very clear theme. He has his Batman theme um, that he pulled in from Batman Begins, and you hear that, and so you still get that piece of it. But there's just so much tension in that movie that I really appreciate.
Part of the fun of that is that they make the Joker's quote unquote theme. It's just dissonant. It's not. It doesn't feel like a theme like other movies have a theme. It's more these strings that sound like they're gonna snap at any moment, which fits his character, which works whenever you get him anytime on screen, because any moment he might go off. Let me go right quick. Okay, for me, next one. This might be a bit of a cheat, but I don't care. Tron Legacy, Daft Punk. And here's the thing: there is also a movie score that goes with, but Daft Punk wrote the music for Tron Legacy, and whereas I think that's an okay to good movie that got kind of lost in the shuffle, the fact that you got Daft Punk to write the music to it elevates it. And they do, I mean, these are two electronic music composers, writers, DJs. They do this, they get to be in the movie, but more importantly, they fit the mood of, okay, you're going into a video game, you're going into a digital space, where the music's got to sound. There are moments where it sounds more traditional, operatic, and that's where the score comes in. But all the music in the nightclub, in the city, and when they're in the arena battling, like, this is why that music plays when you get on the ride at Disney, because it's just connected to it in a way that I mean, I listened to the Nine Inch Nails score for Tron Ares, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't find that I connect with it anywhere near as good as I did with Daft Punk's.
Fredo always brings hipness to this podcast, doesn't he? A little bit of hip.
Yeah, I will say I like Trent Reznor's work on some other movies, right? I really like that, but yeah, that's a fun pick.
So my next one has a little asterisk next to it because I'm saying everything except for the very first bit of music that you hear from it. Everything except for the main title, and that's Rogue One. I still think that like the opening title for Rogue One was a placeholder that they forgot, because the rest of the score is awesome. Like, and my favorite moment is when when the Death Star fires on Jeddah, or not, I mean on Scarif.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what they did with the score there was just it's so very moving and so very unexpected. But that whole movie is just, it's Star Wars without being John Williams. And like I said, they took a big step, like I said, in that moment I just mentioned. But I love Rogue One's score, except for the main title. That was iMovie that they left in. So anyway,
the serenity of that scene you were
Yes.
talking about, right? That the juxtaposition between what you're seeing on screen and the music, but it was the right choice.
it was.
Because you are sort of like surrendering to the moment, right? Like the deed is done. They achieved what they set out to do, and there's nothing for them to do at that moment but just wait.
And the way that it stops when the light engulfs Cassian and Jyn,
Yeah.
and you're like in the silence of space. Like I said, I just think Rogue One was really, really well done. So, except for the opening
Yeah.
theme.
I was curious if we were going to have some Star Wars on here, so that's cool. I guess I'll circle back to Danny Elfman here, and it was really sort of a toss-up, but I'm going to go with Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is just such a mirthful, silly, goofy, energetic score. It just that thing. If you think about the concept of that movie, again, like if you haven't sat down and watched this movie yet, it's really not going to be what you expect it to be, because it's really bizarre. I mean, it's bizarre. You might think, oh, it's just this guy in the bow tie, and it looks kind of silly or dumb. But it really leans into this sense of the bizarre, and the score sort of matches that. But like I said, so energetic, and it just propels things forward, and it just makes me smile every time I hear it.
It's one of those scores that's like, it fits the character, it fits the overall essence of the story you're gonna go with, and that's why it works so well. Speaking of that, so my next one, I'm gonna go with, this one's an interesting one because this, oh,
What does Linus think?
was that the alarm? Was that the alarm or was that Linus? Yeah. So my next one's gonna be Pacific Rim, which is Ramin Djawadi with Tom Morello. Which, if you see that movie, we're talking Guillermo del Toro making a giant monster fighting giant robot movie. So the fact that he goes and hires Tom Morello to come along with Ramin Djawadi to, okay, we're gonna throw in some heavy metal riffs into this. We're gonna throw in some hard rock. We're gonna make this brass ball style over the top. This movie's over the top. This is not, you're not supposed to see this seriously. You're supposed to have fun with it. And I love that because it is completely different from other Del Toro scores. They tend to be more gothic, more um translucent or passive, depending on the movie. This is just the one where you're just like, you know what, screw it. Let's just play this at 11. We're going Spinal Tap here and we're gonna have a blast with it. And I love it from
So my last one, Avengers Endgame. That the portal moment was well earned, both visually and musically. From the start of it, when you got this kind of little bit of homage to Fanfare of the Common Man, Aaron Copland's piece. When Cap is, Captain America's, standing up to take his final beating. He got it, and then just like I said, the way the music builds and its themes that have been, played throughout the movies leading up to it. Everything about that moment, that's one of the greatest moments in movies of recent memory. I mean, Star Wars tried to do it. We've talked about it before. They didn't do it. They failed miserably. Um, but that moment, with that portal scene especially, that's, like I said, everything that's been going on in the movie builds to that movie. And they, like I said, the using of past themes and everything. So yeah, it was very, very well done. And I also liked, when Tony gives the shield to Steve Rogers, and you get Captain America's theme. Again, it's the whole thing was very operatic. So it just, it was really, really well done. So, but I still love that portal scene. I mean, for all reasons. So, yeah.
The piece of music that stands out in my mind from that movie, beyond the portal scene, which is incredible, is the curtain call at the end. You get all the way through. Yeah, you get through all these movies, and then they do at the end. They show all the different actors, and they sign their name on the screen, and that piece of music that's playing when that's happening is epic.
Well, and I don't know if you're not talking about, and Tony's quote unquote funeral scene. That piece of music is wonderful, and also hinted at earlier on, and it's fully realized at that moment. So like I said, it was well done. It was well done. So Avengers Endgame, my last one.
They managed to fill action with the moments where they're doing the time heist. It feels like a heist movie with the music. It's like they go through a whole bunch of different genres, and then it just coalesces, converges onto that big moment at the end. So yeah.
I have to throw in for my final choice here, Hoosiers by Jerry Goldsmith.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a very good movie, and
it's a very good boring movie.
Slow, right? They take their time, but again, it's a character piece, right? Yeah. So you're getting to know these characters a little bit. That pacing wouldn't really fly nowadays in some ways, but the score itself is kind of similar in that it's dated. If you listen to that score, you're like, what are these synth instruments I'm listening to, and like, why are we listening to those when this movie is set in the 50s, and like what is even happening here? But just the tune, and the composition of it, and it's driving. And again, I go back to energetic, and triumphant when it needs to be at the end. And then I love that piece of music so much. I think about like 80s sports, like Rocky's one of those. There's a few others, but it's just that it was a time and a place, and they really knew how to like just make you feel things. Again, usually triumph by the end, but Hoosiers is one of my favorites, and I love Jerry Goldsmith's work. There were a couple others I thought of his too.
The Mummy, for one, that was one I was thinking of because it works so well. I mean, and also the last score that he did, which was the 13th Warrior, which is another one of those movies where the music elevates the movie. So yeah. For my last one, I had a battle back and forth, and I think I'm going to go with Black Panther by Ludwig Göransson. We were mentioning it earlier. And not just because he goes to Africa, and he literally just tries to absorb as much of African culture, musical ideas, musical identities, and blends it all to bring it all in. It's the fact that it works so seamlessly, whether you're talking the theme for Wakanda, which is just epic and grand, or the work that he does with Killmonger, where that piece of music sounds like it's stalking you, which fits his character to a T. Or even when they're talking about, when they play the music when he goes back and sees finally through to what actually happened with his father killing his brother, his uncle, kind of a thing, and leaving uh, Killmonger behind as a child. All of these motives and motifs just play really well, and he finds a way to connect it to not just the traditional African culture that Wakanda is just embracing, but also the African diaspora that you see in America and other parts of the world. And that's a tough feat to work, and he manages to pull it off well. And it doesn't feel, here's the thing, it doesn't feel derivative. It feels like he went from a place of respect. And I love that about it.
I agree with what you're saying. That was a huge ask, right? And a very difficult thing to take on, and for him to pull it off is just really impressive.
But to Aaron's point, it's that relationship that he has with Ryan Coogler that he knew. Okay, he's asking me for this. I'm gonna trust him that he's not gonna ask me to, that if I'm going over my skis, that he's gonna pull me.
Well, and yes,
synergy.
That's 100%. I think Ryan Coogler would, if it would have been, it's very much a trap for a white composer to go and try to write, like if we saw it in high school band music and stuff like that. It's like, I want to write a piece about that, of African music, and you do arrangements of traditional, and it just, doesn't work. And so I think Ryan Coogler, I think there's obviously a trust factor there because he and Ludwig are best friends. But I think also he would have been the first one to say, like you said, here, no, Skippy, no, this ain't it. So, yeah.
Any honorable mentions for you guys?
I'll toss one out there. A League of Their Own. There's some points in that movie that just hit you in the feels. I mean, whether or not it's a fantastic piece of music, it's well placed piece of music, and it like I said, grabs you. So League of Their Own is really good.
For me, I had a couple, but I'll just mention one, which is The Princess and the Frog. That's New Orleans. How difficult it is to combine traditional New Orleans style jazz and make a whole movie. I mean, look, jazz is such an American musical thing, particularly the brand that we have in New Orleans, and make it sound authentic and real and blend it into all the needs that Disney movies have. I think it works so well. I mean, it's part of the identity of that film.
Wanted to throw in Back to the Future. Recently saw that in live format, and that was just, it struck me. I was like, I was sitting there in the theater thinking, like, well, I really hope they pull in some of that theme, because that theme I love so much, and they did, so that was cool. And The Goonies is another one that I adore that soundtrack. It was so much fun. And Kate brought this up because it was so funny this week. It came up on social media, which was Chariots of Fire, which is like an incredible piece of music. But like somebody pointed out this week that it's basically on top of spaghetti.
On top of spaghetti. Yeah.
It's just, you can't unhear it, right?
No,
like now it's
yeah.
So that it's a great
Vangelis.
It's great.
Yeah, right. Vangelis was the composer, I believe, of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, let us know what you think we missed. What are your favorite non-John Williams movie scores? By the way, I don't think any of these that we listed off, I'm biased, but I don't think they are even in the same league. But like I said, I'm biased. But let us know what you think. And like I said, if we missed anything. But until then, we'll say who dat.
Who dat?
Who dat?
And have a wonderful, warmer week.
McConkey.